Hey, welcome to the conversation. You're with Andy Mason, and this is authentic conversations around the messy intersection of faith, family, and business. And we are just back from Africa. I'm going to tell you more about that in a separate podcast. But this one we planned and organized ahead of time because one of the things that I want to help you become aware of is some of the people that we have, I'd say, on our team, on the Heaven and Business team. And one of them in particular is Andy Jenkins. Say hi, Andy.
Hey, fellas, how are you guys doing?
So that accent there is Birmingham, Alabama. And I just want to just highlight, if you've walked with Heaven and Business for a little while, you would have noticed that over the last probably 3 to 6 months, we've gone through a kind of a strategic reorg of our, not just the website, but the behind the scenes and we have got so much content, like unbelievable amounts of content that's been just sitting behind the scenes, not doing anything. And so we've had this problem of what do we do with it? How do we make it more available? How do we give that to people, deliver it to people in such a way that would help people advance with this whole content message that we are, which is connecting, training, and activating people to partner with God at work. So why is this important to you? Well, if you're in business, you love Jesus, you want to expand, you want to grow, and you're wondering, how do I do that? I'm bumping into people day after day after day that have got great resource, have got a life that is delivering value already. If you don't, this is not for you. But if you do, you've got quality content proven over time, and you want to know, how do I take that and actually deliver that to my customers in such a way that really adds value, then this is going to help you today. So Andy, thanks so much for joining us.
Man, thanks for having me on. I'm glad to talk. Glad
Yeah.
to glad to be here with I think you're like my twin from another side of the planet.
Yeah, we run, there's a bunch of stuff we do. So let's just tell our audience how we first connected. So my problem, we've been a year out of the East Coast. Heaven and Business previously was effectively a department of a nonprofit organization, and over the last 12 months, we've moved out. We're fully a for-profit entity, and then I'm looking at how do we grow, how do we expand, and I've got all of this different stuff and wanting to get more cohesive in delivering on three objectives. One, reach the crowd. That's the podcast, the blog, the books, and so on. Secondly, how do I connect, train, and activate better, which is workshops and events. And then thirdly, masterminds and an individual advisory and some of these adventure retreats we do, which is all about how do I identify and activate catalysts. My biggest thing was, how do I reach the crowd more effectively, invite them into a process, turning a crowd into a contact, get the email, and then nurture that contact in such a way. Now, here's the deal. I don't want to just do basic marketing where I'm manipulating people. This is about knowing that we deliver value. And if you know that you deliver value, then how do you communicate, connect, reach people the best? So I was pondering, like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And in the process of that, we have the Heaven and Business website is on a platform called Kajabi. It's an all-in-one. We pay a couple $100 a month, and it does everything from the email sequencing, websites, event sales process. It's brilliant. I'm going to post a link below in the chat for you to jump on that if you want to. But I was like, I need some help. I don't have the time to be able to do all of this. I could do, but as we're growing, my most effective use of time is doing something else. So how do I do it? So I jumped onto the community group that's on Facebook with Kajabi, and I posted this random, hey, anybody know anybody that could help us build some landing pages or something like that? And then I get this random private message from this guy, Andy Jenkins, I've never met before. Andy, tell us a little bit about what you saw, what you do, and how that response was.
Yeah, so that's a great question. That's a very accurate setup. The group that we're in is an incredibly honorable group. However, one of the rules in that group is that you don't solicit people for work. Like you don't post hey, I'm available to do this contract, or I can do this for you. But if somebody posts like you did and said, I need help,
Yep.
then it is fair game for people to say, hey, I can do this. This
Do
is
this.
my good
I
and
can do this.
service. Yeah, and they do. And they're all very honorable people. But the problem that I saw was you're not selling it's not that there's second rate solutions out there, but what I saw when I saw your post, I looked at it because we're familiar with Reading Church, and we're familiar with some of the things they've done out there, and some of the language that you had posted kind of resonated when I popped over to your website to look. And I just reached out and said, wait, hold on, here's what's about to happen. I don't know that I articulated this well, but you've just posted, I want technological help,
Yep.
which is true. That's what you wanted on the surface. But you're going to have a lot of people that are going to pile on and say, I can do that. And they will, but it'll confuse the message with the microphone. They're going to work on the microphone. They're
Yep.
going to make sure people can understand it. They're going to make sure that people hear it, all of that. But the more important thing is the message. And so often, people that are in our world, yours, mine, people that are listening to your podcast, people that are watching, coming on to Heaven Business, we often confuse, and it's real easy to do, and to kind of accelerate the tools, the technology that you're using ahead of the transformation that you're actually delivering and the message there. And so that's what I told you. It's like, hey, well, hold on. I would not delegate this off yet.
Yep.
The message is too important. I would hang on to it. I know you're frustrated with the technology. I get it. Been there, done it, learned it all the absolute hard way. But you like just slow
So
roll it.
yeah.
Don't hand
So
it all off yet.
yeah. So here's the thing. I don't know if you guys are hearing this. So Andy jumps on, private messages me and says, don't do that. Do not outsource. Effectively, you said your content, your message is too valuable. Now, he didn't use the words to pimp out to anybody, but he said you need to do this yourself to protect the message. Now, he wasn't soliciting them to do it at all. It was just like, Andy, you need to be careful. You need to do this yourself. And it was so refreshing to hear it. But I want you to hear this part is the integrity of your message is not for sale. You cannot just outsource this to anybody. You've got to make sure that if somebody's going to do your marketing, your social media, your promotion, you've got to make sure that they will protect your voice, your values, and how they do that. Otherwise, you've got a bunch of people delivering great product, but they effectively sell out to manipulation marketing or some kind of scheme that can do it just by hitting the numbers, but they sell out the delivery value, the exchange. For us personally, it's so that anybody who contacts, touches the Heaven and Business website and email, every single one, there is a discipleship moment for them, invites them into discipleship. So Andy kind of just echoed this, and I'm thinking, man, who is this guy that would reach out and say, whoa, 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 don't do this. Like, don't get anybody.
Yeah.
You need to do this yourself. But my problem is, Andy, I don't have the time to do this for myself. So what I did is I jumped on a call with you and we had a conversation. And I'm like, wow. I got to the end of the conversation and thought two things. One, we're going to be in Birmingham within a month or so. Do you want to come to the
Right.
workshop? And you live like a couple miles away. And you said, yeah, I want to
Literally a
come.
couple miles from the DoubleTree. Yeah.
And then as I got to then, so here's the be as innocent as a dove and as shrewd as a snake scripture. As I got to get to know Andy more and see like, no, he is who he says he is. I sent him a book. He read the book. Then I'm like, hey, if this is what you do, then what would it take for you to do this for us? That was my take on it. What was your take on it?
Well, yeah, I mean, my take was, the funny thing was, yeah, reading through the God at Work with You and some of the principles that you outline in there, I was like, you need to make Heaven and Business be test case number one of, can you 10x a coaching organization? Can you implement these principles? Can you serve all these people at a higher level such that the water level raises for everybody at the same time? So that was really kind of the genesis of the conversation. It wasn't like hey, we'll do contract work for you. It was just, we're just kind of talking about it. We went to eat dinner a couple times with a bunch of people there at the group, sat through the sessions and interacted and learned a whole bunch. So that was, really for me starting to see and flesh out what heaven and business is. It's not just information. There's a whole lot more that's going there in the process. That
So
make sense?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So if you're watching this, here's what I want you to know is number one, you got a product, you got a proven and tested product that's wrapped up in a set of values that you deliver. And you want to know, how do I get that product to the market? Somebody like Andy is the one that's going to help you do that. And what they do is they amplify your message and help you take it to market. Bunch of people do that. Copywriters. The beauty with Andy is he uses the same platform, the system, and the process. So, Andy, for someone watching this, what is that process that you walk someone like me, like let's say Heaven and Business, so we don't confuse Andy and Andy,
Yeah.
that you use with Heaven and Business to help them get their product through to brand new customers?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing that you've got to do, and I mean, we've got a whole process that we walk through with this, and I'll give you a link that you can share so people can go to that and learn more. Is you've really got to define what you are doing. So, I mean, that's the first step, and that's generally linked back to personally your call. Most people didn't get into coaching, they didn't get into writing, they didn't get into whatever they're doing right now in business, money managing. They didn't get into whatever they're doing just random. There are a few uh, stories in which that happens, and you're like, well, I guess I'm doing this now. But most people, it was the sense of, I mean, you think about vocation, vocal calling. It was this idea that there is this voice, the spirit created, crafted you to do something, to deliver value to the world. You're bringing that in the world. And so you kind of got to go back into personally, you know, what's really going on with you? Why are you here? And the implication is, if you're called and you are a legacy leader at that organization, meaning you've been there for a while, if you started the organization, particularly, no matter what industry it's in, if you have a call, that organization has a call.
Yeah.
And so we've got to align those and then figure out what it is that you do. So if you think about that, I mean, that's a lot right there. But now you got to articulate that and communicate that to the people that you're serving, that you want to give you money for your value that you deliver to them. And that really gets to be a little bit difficult to do.
Yeah.
I think one instance, you and I were talking about a chiropractor, and he had you didn't give me any names or anything. He said, but he kind of realizing, man, he's been running a great business. He's touching people. But he's realizing, man, I've never done the words marketing. I've never done it. What do I do? Well, how do you explain, if you're a chiropractor, what you do? Well, you go back to it. Okay, I had this call in my life. I mean, wouldn't be surprising if this guy had, I'm just making up stuff now off the top of my head, but because it would be unique to whoever's story. If he had a gift of healing,
Yeah.
and he has this insight and wisdom that's given to him by the Holy Spirit, and he says, hey, man, a lot of the time, things that people struggle with in real life every day, health nuisances they don't have to deal with. And so I feel called by God to give people a better way to live a healthier life so they can live out their purpose and their destiny without being shackled by this other stuff, because it's difficult to express who you are if you're sick on the couch.
Yeah.
So if that's who he is, I just made that up in real time. If that's who he is, that's what he's delivering, selling to other people. Nobody besides a chiropractor knows what a chiropractor does,
Yeah.
right? But if you articulate it in terms of that, or you articulate, what is heaven and business? Well, if you realize, okay, my background, yours, in relationship banking, and I really wanted people to live out the dreams that they have that were placed in them by God to build a better business system, to affect the neighborhood, to raise up and treat employees differently, to bless the people in the neighborhood, in the city, to raise it, to help them experience God outside the four walls of the church, to be able to give more. Okay, so you start fleshing all that out, and you go, okay, what does that process look like? How do we communicate that in a simple, step-by-step fashion to where people go, oh, now I know what you do.
Yeah.
And they either want it or they don't. Or sometimes it's a no for now. Maybe they need it later. But they can't take action with you until they know what you do. And sometimes that takes a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So that's really the
So
starting point.
it's question number one is, how do you help people? How do you help people? Whether whatever you are, whether you're a janitor, CEO, your
Yeah,
company, how does it help people? Is it proven? Is it
that's right.
tested? What's the feedback? So number one is you've got to know that. And then the context you're talking about is why. And what's your big why? The whole what's behind that? What's your conviction over why this is important? Who cares? Why do you care? Do you have a
Right.
sense of calling, purpose, mission? It's knowing those things. And then the big question number two is, how do you articulate this? So how do I help people? And then number two is, how do I articulate this, not for myself, but for my
But for them,
audience, so they know very, very quickly, do this, do this, do this. Here's the next step.
right.
So the beauty is we've done a bunch. Heaven and Business had already been kind of working on this. This kind of develops over time, but we just had a mess of a website. There was, when you first looked around the Heaven and Business website, what was your impression? And then how do we simplify it and get it clearer?
Okay, so honest first impression. My first impression was you guys have a lot of amazing resources and assets, and and so people know that, like you let me see under the hood.
Yeah.
So you gave me a login and say, hey, just look in as the admin, and this is back when we were just talking and brainstorming about some things. And so I had a white sketchbook. Kind of I draw it out on paper first so I can kind of
Yeah.
see it rather than going with the tech. And I kind of mapped out some things like here's what I'm seeing, here's what you guys are really trying to do, but it wasn't a mess. It's I mean, that's kind of your word, not mine. There was just a lot of stuff there that was disconnected. It wasn't a very clear path forward. And so I was astounded that you had reached so many people so quickly with such a deep message that people obviously needed, and thought, man, with more clarity and more precise steps, like, hey, I remember having that conversation with you sitting on my back deck, said, okay, let's get people towards, something very easy, a book, something intro, a mini course. And then let's invite them to the membership and invite them to a deeper course and take them to an event and take them to a mastermind, having clear lines where there's a clear path for people to journey deeper. But it starts with something very simple where they can kind of taste and see.
Yeah.
Hey, this is forming. So it was just drawing all those lines. And part of that meant going back.
Yeah.
What I see most content creators do, writers, coaches, anybody that's been in the space for a while, is they have all this great content that they were absolute on fire about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, most of it's still very good. Unless you are in the news industry, most of that stuff is still great. And
Yeah.
you probably developed it a little bit, you shaped it a little bit, you got better language because you've spoken it a few times. And so we went back and we got books of yours that were, I mean, 6, 7 years
2014,
old.
2011. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to build a web page for one that was from 2011.
Yeah.
Well, it's still as relevant now as it was then.
Yeah.
And there was audio and live events that we were able to pull and put back out in front of people that was maybe even more valuable now than it
So
was back
yes.
then.
So for people listening and watching, just imagine you walk into the library. There's a million books. Where do you start? And so what Andy does, and people like him, is help effectively catalog that. But before they even do that, you've got to know, like I said, number one, how do you help people? Number
Right.
two, how do you articulate this for the audience? Number three is, what is the process or sequence or path forward? It brings clarity so that a stranger, let's say Bob, turns up at your business, and now with online, you can go to your audience in their own home.
Right.
What's Bob going to get? And what's the pathway? For us with Heaven and Business, we're all about discipling people. It's this mandate, mission, disciple the world. So how do we do that in the context of my message, my calling, my vocation? Well, everything we do, we want to invite people into a process. Hey, this is going to help you grow in your walk with God and your place of work. Boom. If you want more, here's more. If you want more, here's more. So then ultimately, if people keep walking with us, they'd start with a book. Now, before I say that, before we worked with Andy, it's like you walk into the library, there's just stuff everywhere. It's like a messy desk. It's all there,
A
but
messy desk.
yeah, it's under this, it's under that, it's hidden everywhere. And what Andy has helped bring clarity to us is to say, okay, Andy, what if we organize this into a pathway that highlights, number one, where do they start? Start here. here's a free book for you. Grab a hold of heavenandbusiness.com/free. I think
Free.
we called it.
Yeah,
Boom.
that's
Here's
it.
a free book. And then once they've read that, then they get invited into, hey, how's that working for you? Is this helping? Is it creating more hunger? Is it moving you forward in this discipleship process? Hey, would you like this? This is going to give you an understanding to kingdom business, activating you to grow in that understanding and application of kingdom in the context of my business. Then what does it do? Well, are you aware of these events that were happening in person near you? Boom. Hey, are you aware of this? We've got this community that's growing. Now, if people walked with us through that entire process, they start as a stranger, someone in the crowd, and then they're walking through a contact. And ultimately, we want to develop people to develop others. So 2 Timothy 2:2, the things you've heard among many witnesses, commit these to faithful people who are able to teach others also. So that's a catalyst. That's someone that's walked with us one-on-one, 1-on-5. We're just in Africa with Tommy Duchel. There's someone who's like that, came down, ended up speaking at a conference and walked with them. We were then taking a team down to Zimbabwe and pouring into Tommy and his wife, Rachel, and what they were doing. Phenomenal. But that's the simple process. So what did Andy do? He helped bring clarity to our process, or the pathway by which I can help people. And for us, that's discipling them in their walk with God at work. Did I say it right, Andy?
Yeah, I think you did, and that's true for every industry. I mean, if like go back to chiropractor, I mean, long term, he wants to serve people at a higher level, getting them in his chair every single week, getting them on supplements and nutrition and exercise, less stress, all that. But where does it start? Probably starts with just getting them in the chair for free one time, and then he can interact with, tell him what he does, and then we move from there.
We'll
So,
have
I
some
mean, there's a
videos
path
online
at
or
every,
YouTube. Yeah.
yeah, there's a path for every industry where you are. For yours, it's like the free book, eventually deeper relationships, a very low pressure, low stress. How do people move forward? And I think that's important to articulate to people. What's the journey? What's the path? Where are they now? What's the problems they're facing? What's some of the pitfalls? What are some of the obstacles? And where are you going to take them? What's the delivery? So you got to know what you do. And I think you're starting to hit on, one of the additional things that the infinite ROI that we're kind of messing around with right now is a 7-point pathway that we've kind of walked you through. It's just literally 7 steps. Just do, and we do all this and kind of gather all the information on the way. But one of the key ones that's in the middle is where you kind of got to make that hitch and not just articulate what you do, but you have to take the leap. Now, what you do is branding. It kind of in my world, if people know what you do, branding is your look, your feel. It's how you're known. It's the tone. It's the culture. It's what people think about when they think about you.
Yeah.
So people got to know that, and a lot of us don't even get to that to where people even know what you do.
Yeah.
So you got to be known for something, but then you got to make the leap to marketing, which is here's how you do business with me.
Yeah.
Even if it's a low ticket item. Here's how you engage our services. Here's where you sign up, do a transaction, buy something, register, and especially in the faith base, we're a little bit hesitant to say,
Engage.
sign up,
Yeah.
buy here.
Make a decision.
But you don't have to be pushy about it,
Yeah.
but you do have to be clear.
Yeah.
And you do have to say, here's where to register. And so you've seen that with some of the emails that we've sent out, on your side have been, hey, get access right here. Here's where to sign up. You don't hide the lead. You don't hide what we're trying to get you to do. You don't have to be salesy or hokey or pushy. It's just, hey, here's what you'll get. Here's the path. Here's what you'll learn. Here's what you'll be able to do. Here's the journey. Here's the potential we're going to take you to. Here's how to do it. So brand it, market it, and then you keep communicating with people. Yeah. So there's
and one of the things that's been really helpful initially, especially with you, is like, Andy. No, for me personally, for Heaven and Business, it's like, man, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to. And you're like, Andy, you've got all these people, 9,500 people on an email list that are just sitting there.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time and their time. If they're just sitting there, invite them into a process. If they're not going to walk with you, that's a gift for you and it's a gift for them. Actually, someone unsubscribing is a gift. Now, it's kind of crazy. By the way, in terms of results, the uptake, the engagement has actually been higher than any that we've seen in terms of industry averages, which is really, really cool. What does it tell you? People are waiting. They're waiting for you to help them on their journey. Here's how I can help you, and here's the next step. So if I go over those just points, number one, how do you help people? Articulate it. How do you help people? What is it? What is their problem that you bring a solution to? How do you get that to them? What does that even look like? How does that make them feel? Number two, how do you articulate this for your audience? Even those that, if you're listening to this and you're a speaker or a preacher, it's not about you. It's about your audience. So if you're feeling nervous communicating it, it's like, get over yourself, because it's not about how you feel. It's how you make them feel and how you deliver value to them to help them overcome their challenges or difficulties. Number three, what's the pathway forward? Like, how do they simply engage with you? I love it. Jesus said to the disciples, follow me and I'll make you. And then he kept walking. So they had a decision to make. They come to Jesus, and Jesus like, man, Jesus talking about communion, eat my flesh, drink my blood. Everyone leaves. And then the disciples are like, whoa, this is weird. And Jesus says, well, help yourself, leave if you want to. And they say, well, we kind of would, but no one else has the words of life like you. So this decision. And then keep asking, number four, what's the next step? What's the next step? And I put down number five, what's the ultimate step? Where do you ultimately, like if this is a funnel, we call it a sales funnel, a sequence, a nurture sequence to deliver value. What is the ultimate point? And for Heaven and Business, that's activating people who activate people who activate people who activate people. Or disciple people who disciple people who disciple people who disciple people. And we see that start to happen. There you go. There's the funnel.
Yeah, that's the picture.
But I think that other thing is clarity is kindness. It's huge. So Andy, I want people to know about you. I've personally introduced you to some people just because I know that you help people in this pathway from product to like, I've got this piece, the content I'm passionate about, I'm called, and getting that to an audience or expanding that, this sequence, this process, this pathway in between. You're a genius at this. How do some people find out more about you and what you have on offer?
Yeah, I wouldn't say genius. I might say like mad scientist or something like that, or crazy artist, something like that nature. But I appreciate
your wife,
that.
Beth. Without your wife, Beth, yeah, you would be. She keeps.
Yeah, Beth is genius. I'm just here with Beth.
Sure.
So basically, there are three things that we can do. Is we can provide content for you, and that's true whether you're a business leader or nonprofit leader, whether you've written a book, you want to write a book, you're a coach, which is kind of what you're doing. You're in the faith space. Generally, most of the people that we're helping are in the faith space because I know that content and that substance very well. So we can provide you content. So some people just go, I just want the book to learn the processes. I just want a course of how to write my book, launch my book. We can do that. Other people say, no, I want you to coach me in it. We do some one-on-one coaching. We also do, and this is what I'm really excited about. We've got a mastermind that we're launching that's going to show people how to do the exact processes that we've just described. It's articulated a little bit better than you and I have done it. Of course, we're just having a conversation, kind of fleshing it out, but it literally takes people on a step-by-step process of how do you do all this stuff with audio, with video, with a workbook that's literally fill in the blank of all the stuff that they need to do to articulate in their mind, get clarity on what they're leading people to do. So then they know what to say on their website. They know what to say on their marketing. They know what to say on their brochures. They know what to say. I mean, can you imagine if you get your staff or your clients, not your clients, your team saying the same thing. So the person that's answering the phone says the same thing that the high-level consultant says the same thing on. I mean, the team's aligned. You're serving people at a higher level. They know exactly what you're going to do, so they know what to expect. So we've got a pathway forward to help you with all of that messaging and then know what to say. So I'm going to put a link down to you to where you can share that with people. So we provide content only, and so that's kind of the,
number one.
I just
help people define their content, whether that's a book or whatever it is, course.
We can give you content to where you can do it on your own. So if you're saying, hey, I just want to read your book or I want to watch a course, give me the information, I can do it on my own. We'll give you that.
Okay.
Second is we can coach you on any of these processes.
Okay.
And so we can coach you one-on-one, or I love to coach it in groups because people ask questions that other people were thinking about, but they didn't quite. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh man, I need to clarify what I do. And with that, yeah, we'll help them clarify their messaging, help them clarify their content. We've helped people write books, courses, launch courses, set up their 501c3 and articulate kind of the mission of the nonprofit, all that kind of stuff. So we can give you content, we can give you coaching. That's a little bit more involved. We even do contract work for people to where we get into the weeds and, we do the stuff. We write the book, we help you finish the book, we help you create the course, we overhaul the website, whatever. I really love to do the coaching and walk with people. We love it all, but hit in that sweet spot where at some point, our goal is for you to be able to run with it on your own with your team. And so if we can coach you to that, you can empower the people that you're already hired, they're already working with you, to move at a higher level to where you kind of raise the water level for them. Everybody's aligned. You're able to serve people at a higher level. When you serve people at a higher level by clarifying what you do, so they know how to take action, they know where you're going to lead them, you're able to then align your team because you're communicating clearly internally, you're communicating clearly externally so people know what they're going to get. And as a result, you really collect higher revenue while at the same time serving people at an amplified level.
Yeah.
So it kind of wraps all together.
And so for people to know this, for our personal walk with Andy and his wife, Beth, so Heaven in Business, we actually at this point, we've just engaged with Andy and Beth to actually get this process in place. So some coaching, primarily actually contract, helping us do this, because I got all of this. I want to get this simple. And I feel like God's told us, reach the crowd. If I just wanted to make more revenue, I'd focus on the individual coaching, high value, high value, high contact, high fruitfulness, and it's greatly rewarding. But I hear God say, reach the crowd. So that's where which is a straight out investment for us. And then we're working out, okay, Andy, I want to keep working with you. You're delivering such value to us. How do we do this together so that it's actually going to pay for itself? But just so you know where we're at in that funnel. Andy, how does somebody
we're able to do that? I think we're doing that. I think it's
starting to work.
Yeah, it's working. So like it's paying its way and hopefully putting a little bit in the bank there.
Yep. And me promoting Andy right now, actually, we don't get anything out of this. It's helping us. If it's helping us, I want it to help you because I'm seeing this everywhere I go. Clarity is kindness. How do we help people get clarity in that process? So Andy, break it right down. How does someone get in touch with you?
I'm going to give you a link that you can put down in the show notes below. And it is specifically for the Heaven and Business crowd. Okay. So it's not one I'm sharing on my website. So if you go to the website on the homepage, it won't get you there. You can go to the homepage and you can follow the Let's Talk link, and I'm happy to talk with people, but I'm going to put a link specifically for the Heaven and Business community. These are all your friends, people that you've referred to. Man, I've talked to a lot of them. I've interacted with them. It's an incredible group of people, an amazing tribe of people that are moving forward that I really think want to see God move outside the four walls of the church, not to the exclusion of inside the four walls of the church, but just thinking, man, God so loved the whole world. Let's get out there and serve in every sector of life. So I'm going to put a link down there for you guys. And if you come into that link and go, hey, I just want the content you have right there, that's great. If you want to sign up for a mastermind, we're going to launch one of those 1st of November. It's going to start, so you can sign up. We would love to meet you into that and to get involved. Or if you're going, man, I need to finish the book. I need to do this. I've got more stuff in the weeds and I need to focus on my mission, but I need some help pulling the other stuff. Then there's a link on that page as well where it's just called Let's Talk. So let's just hop on a quick phone call and see what we can do.
So Andy's got a bunch of content. There's some books, some resources, some courses. Have a look at that, feed yourself, and you can follow this. Obviously, lowest price, you can jump in there. That's number one. Number two, he will coach you. There's some mastermind groups that he's starting to launch for this community to help you walk through this process of getting my product through clarity to deliver that to my customer. And then number three, for a limited number of people, I'm sure you can't do this for everybody. Actually, they will contract to do this for you. That's what they've done with us. Check out the heavenandbusiness.com website. You'll see, oh, it's a lot clearer than it used to be. It's a lot simplified, as well as once and behind the scenes, there's a lot more automation. So there's things happening when someone engages with us. Value, 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 value. Thank you so much, Andy. This has been really helpful. I appreciate working with you. I know we're going to keep doing that. Relationships continues. I'm going to see you.
Yeah.
I know. I'm going to see you next. Certainly the February conference. If you're watching this, jump on.
I need to just hop on a flight and go to Germany, but it's probably going to be in Atlanta.
Yeah, you know,
probably where I'm going to see you.
Janine and I are going to Germany in 10 days. But we will definitely see you having a business annual conference in Atlanta.
Atlanta 24. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Hey, everybody have a great week. Make sure questions, comments, don't hesitate to reach out. Contact at heavenandbusiness.com.